Impact of community policing on attitudes and public safety in Barangay Bisayan Village, Tagum City. Chapter 1. Rationale. Low legitimacy and lack of trust limit the state capacity in providing public goods and services. This problem is particularly pertinent to policing, where officers need information about what is happening in the community to provide services effectively and efficiently. Citizens give the police information about which problems are most pressing, the location of crime hotspots, concern about suspicious people or activities, and reports of crime that have occurred. The police use this information to allocate their limited resources to prevent crime and ensure public safety, according to Wilson and Filbert in the year 2010. Despite decades of declining crime rates, long-standing tensions between police and the public continue to frustrate the formation of cooperative relationships necessary for the function of the police in the provision of public safety. In response, policymakers continue to promote community-oriented policing or COP and its emphasis on positive non-enforcement contact with public as an effective strategy for enhancing public trust and police legitimacy. The police use this information to allocate their limited resources to prevent crime and ensure public safety. Uh, when citizens don't trust the police, this whole mechanism gets crashed, according to Perez 2015. By doing so, policemen will be able to assist individuals as well as collective self-protection, to intervene at earlier stages to prevent problems from arising, develop a heightened appreciation of community concerns, explain, explain police services more accurately, and solicit information that leads to arrest and prosecution. Police would still handle genuine emergencies, but with much reduced force. The point in effect is to unhook a large portion of field personnel from the emergency response system so they can engage in proactive crime prevention. In short, community-oriented policing embraces the expansion of civilian input into policing. Uh, reciprocity, reciprocity of communication is not only accepted but encouraged. Under community policing, the public is allowed to speak to be informed about strategic priorities, tactical approaches, and even the behavior of individual officers, according to Blair, Karim, and Moore, 2019. This theory is anchored by proposition of Haim, Nains, and Vanilla in the year 2017, stated that the effects of the community policing on attitudes towards the police and public safety outcomes. Researchers found that the intervention had no effect on the main outcomes of interest, including crime victimization, perception of insecurity, citizen perception of police, police abuse, or citizen cooperation with the police. Police operations should encourage a deeper involvement with the community, an involvement now instigated predominantly by emergency calls for service. Rather than being deployed as an ambulance service, policemen on patrol should get to know the community, talk to people in all walks of life, encourage requests for non-emergency services, and become for non-emergency services and become visible part of the community scene. Collaboration between the police and the community, such as community policing, may increase citizen trust and enhance police ability to enforce the law, particularly in contexts in which the state legitimacy is challenged. According to, according to Kunz, Cox and McGrath in the year 2017 stated that the public safety concerns law enforcement agency. Ranking of public safety concerns varied across agency. Wala ang din time. Wait lang tol. Furthermore, according to Kearns, Cox and Maguire in the year 2017 stated that public safety concerns law enforcement agency. Rankings of public safety concerns varied across agencies and were affected by population density, violent and property crime, type of agency, department size, and region. Findings suggest that the context in which police organizations are located plays a role in shaping public safety concerns, which is an important step in broadening our knowledge about the crime rate, security, and trust in the police now. Also, Haim, Names, and Vanilla 2017, they measured community policing on five key possible outcomes: crime incidents, citizens' perception of safety, citizens' perception of police, police accountability, and citizen crime reporting. Consequently, researchers are confident that community policing in the Global South is not, by and large, delivering the benefits that its advocates claim. It does not appear to reduce crime, and it does not lead to improvements in citizen trust in the police. To determine the level of public safety among the residents of Barangay Bisayan Village in Tagum City in terms of 1. Crime rate, security, trust in the police. Number 3. To determine the relationship between community policing and attitudes and public safety among the residents of Barangay Bisayan Village in Tagum City, the hypothesis will be tested at 0.05 level of significance. There is no significant relationship between community policing on attitude and public safety among the residents of Bisayan Village in Tagum City. Uh, Research objectives. The main objective of this study is to determine the relationship between impact of community policing on attitude and public safety in Barangay Bisayan Village, Tagum City. Specifically, it seeks to answer the following sub-questions: to identify the level of community policing on attitudes among the residents in Barangay Bisayan Village in Tagum City in terms of crime incidents, citizens' perception of safety, citizens' perception of police, police accountability, citizen crime reporting, Chapter 2.
Participant. Researcher consider the resident of Barangay Bisayan Village, Tagum City as the target respondents of this study who are capable to shed information on the community policing on attitude and public safety. They will be chosen as our respondent to measure the community policing on attitudes and public safety among the resident of Barangay Bisayan, Tagum City. Next. Materials. In this study, we are going to modify adapted questionnaire and will be posted in Google form to gather respondents and also to gather data related to the topic. The question made will be based on the title of Community Policing on Attitude and Public Safety. A descriptive methods of research describes and interpret what are the what are the revealed conditions and relationship that exist, practice that are prevailing, and the effects that are being felt on those trends and that are developing. Next. Chapter 3. Level level of community policing among the resident of Barangay Visayan, Tagum City. Result: the level of community policing among the resident in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City, with an overall means of 3.66 with a standard deviation of 0.42 with a descriptive equivalent of high. This means that the level of law enforcement strategic among the resident of Visayan Village, Tagum City is must observe. The indicator with the highest result is on citizens' perception of police. This means that the residents are being treated fairly by the police. Residents trust the police. They are satisfied with the overall performance of the police, aware that police are concerned about community problems, and they compliment that the police are respectful of citizens. Level of public safety among the residents of Visayan Village, Tagum City. Result: among all the indicators, security got the highest mean score of 4.60 with a standard deviation of 0.49. Consequently, crime rate and trust in the policeman obtained a mean of 4.59 with a standard deviation of 0.55. Respectively, all got a descriptive equivalent of very high. Consequently, a crime rate and trust in the policeman resident find that the crime volume in my community has been reduced. Presence of police officer in populated areas such as mall, churches has contributed in bringing down crime rate. Anti-drug awareness seminar is also being conducted in different barangay which help in lowering the number of users of illegal drugs in the area. The decrease of crime volume can be attributed to the good inter interoperability and having a good coordination with counterparts and the responsive and right intervention being implemented by our law enforcement. Next. Significance relationship between of law community policing on attitude and public safety in Visayan Village, Tagum City. The main purpose of the study is to determine the relationship between law enforcement community policing on and public safety in Barangay Visayan, Tagum City. A person was used to determine the correlation between the two variables. Result: findings show that the value is greater than 001 is lesser than the 0.5 level of significance. Thus leads to the decision of accepting the null hypothesis. The R-value of 0.302 indicates a positive relationship, meaning community policing on attitude positively affect public safety. Next all.
Chapter 4. Level of community policing among the resident in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City. Community policing among the resident Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City was described as high. This means that level of law enforcement strategy among the resident of Visayan Village, Tagum City is much observed. This implies that the residents are being treated fairly by the police. Residents trust the police. They are satisfied with the overall performance of the police, aware that police are concerned about community problem and the compliment that the police are respectful of citizens. level of public safety among residents of Visayan Village, Tagum City. The level of public safety among the residents of Visayan Village, Tagum City described as very high. This means that level of public safety among the residents of Visayan Village, Tagum City is very much evident. This implies that the residents find the police ensure that the protection of citizens, ensure the safety of people and the environment, and prevent all violation of law and disturbance, maintains public order and security, maintains public order and security by patrolling, handling emergency duties, and cooperates with other authorized and with local residents and communities in maintaining security. Significant relationship between the law community policing on attitude and public safety in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City. The main purpose of this study is to determine the relationship between of law community policing on attitude and public safety in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City. Person was used to determine the correlation between the two variables. The findings showed that the p-value is lesser than the level of significance. Thus, led to the decision of accepting the null hypothesis. The R value indicates a positive relationship, meaning community policing on attitude positively affect public safety. This validated the claim of by him, Nains and Ravenella 2017 stated that the effect of a community policing on attitude toward the police and public safety outcomes researcher found that the intervention had no effect on the main outcomes of interest, including crime victimization, perception of insecurity, citizen perception of police abuse, or citizen cooperation with the police. Police operation should encourage a deeper involvement with the community. Conclusion. The following conclusions were drawn based on the result of the study. The level of community policing among the residents in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City was described as high. The level of public safety among the residents of Visayan Village, Tagum City described as very high. There is significant relationship between community policing on attitude and public safety in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City. Recommendation. Since the level of community policing among the residents in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City was described as high, it has to be elevated into very high by being responsible for effectively delivering basic service of crime control and maintaining order and use force appropriate. Moreover, that the level of public safety among the residents of Visayan Village, Tagum City described as very high. It has to be maintained into such level by ensuring the safety of people and the environment, and prevent all violation of law and disturbance, maintains public order and security. Furthermore, since there is significant relationship between community policing on attitude and public safety in Barangay Visayan Village, Tagum City, the researcher suggests that police operations should encourage a deeper involvement with the community. An involvement is not integrated predom- predominan- predominantly by emergency calls for service rather than being deployed as an ambulance service policeman on patrol should get to know the community, talk to people in all walk of life, encourage requests for non-emergency services, and become for non-emergency services and become visible part of the community scene. Collaboration between the police and community, such community policing may increase citizen trust and enhance police ability to enforce law, particularly in contexts in which the state legitimacy is challenged.